When we left off, Dennis Rader had spent decades living a double life. On one side, the family man, the church leader, the Boy Scout dad, the tidy neighbor with a stern face and trimmed lawn. On the other, BTK, a predator who bound, tortured, and killed in the shadows. And for 30 years he got away with it. Until his pride, his arrogance, and his hunger for recognition led him to make one fatal mistake. The return of BTK. It had been over 2 decades since BTK's last confirmed murder. Wichita had changed. Technology had advanced. People locked their doors now, wary of strangers. For many, the terror of the 70s and 80s had faded into local legend. But not for Dennis Rader. He was tired of being forgotten. So he reached out again. Anonymous letters began arriving at newspapers and TV stations. In them, BTK bragged about his work. He described his murders in chilling detail. Details only the killer would know. He even included photographs of his victims, staged in death, to prove he was real. The city froze in fear. BTK wasn't gone. He was still here. Still watching. Still proud. The mistake. In one of his letters, BTK asked police a bizarre question. He wanted to know, if he sent them a computer disk, could they trace it back to him? Be honest, he wrote. Yes or no. The police, desperate to catch him, played along. They replied through a newspaper ad. Rex, it will be safe. Satisfied, Rader mailed them a floppy disk. And with that, 30 years of deception unraveled in seconds. Investigators discovered the disk had been used at Christ Lutheran Church, the very church where Dennis Rader was president of the congregation. And hidden in the disk's metadata, name, Rader. The ghost had left his fingerprint. The unmasking. On February 25, 2005, Dennis Rader was pulled over while driving his black Jeep Cherokee. Police swarmed his vehicle, weapons drawn. The man who had terrorized Wichita for decades was finally in handcuffs. Neighbors couldn't believe it. Dennis. BTK. No way. But it was him. Inside his home, investigators found a twisted archive. Photos of his victims, detailed journals of his crimes, drawings, bondage equipment, trophies he had stolen from the dead. The mask of normalcy crumbled, and the monster was laid bare. The confession. In court, Rader shocked everyone. He confessed to 10 murders in chilling detail, describing how he stalked his victims, how he bound them, how he ended their lives. No emotion, no remorse, only pride in his projects, as he called them. The families wept as he spoke. The city watched in horror. The man they'd trusted, the man they'd sat next to at church, the man they'd waved to at the mailbox, had been a predator all along. And on August 18, 2005, Dennis Rader, BTK, was sentenced to 10 consecutive life terms. He will never walk free again. The lessons. Now, here's where we turn his horror into survival tools. Predators wear masks. BTK didn't look like a monster. He looked like a husband, a father, a neighbor. Never assume that appearance equals safety. Trust your gut over the surface. Control is a red flag. Rader loved power. In his job, in his church, in his home. Pay attention to people who obsess over control, who get satisfaction from dominating others. That hunger for power can grow dangerous. Arrogance cracks masks. Rader was caught because he couldn't resist bragging. That's often the undoing of predators. They need to feel important. If someone constantly brags about cruelty, violence, or outsmarting others, take note. That ego might be revealing more than they intend. Technology saves. It was a simple piece of metadata on a floppy disk that ended BTK's reign of terror. In our world today, technology, from surveillance cameras to digital footprints, is one of the greatest tools against hidden predators. And if you've stayed with me this far, if this story has you rethinking the masks people wear, make sure you subscribe right now. Because on Crimes After Dark, Every story ends with tools that could one day save your life. The final picture. Today, Dennis Rader sits in a cell, stripped of his control. His mask gone forever. But the lesson he leaves behind is chilling. Sometimes evil doesn't hide in shadows. Sometimes it mows its lawn. Sometimes it sits next to you in church. Sometimes it's the man who smiles and waves from the house right next door. Thank you for watching. If this story shook you, if it made you rethink how you see the people around you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a comment below. What safety red flags do you watch for in people? Your insight might help someone else stay safe. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss the next case we uncover. Because here, it's not just about the darkness of crime. It's about bringing light, awareness, and survival. This has been The Killer Who Lived Next Door. A Suburban Nightmare. I am Asher Dawn. And this is Crimes After Dark. See you on the next one.